sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, boy. You hear that?
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken
The
cities.
ship, of course.
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor to ceiling, the boom, crash and crackle of waves around you, complaints from the sea itself.
And?
And I don't intend to do away with the custom.
Sick as a leper's cat. From the state of it, I'd say she's being cared for by a bunch of beardless babes who never loved anyone but their own mums. But there's more. Listen close. There now, just like that. Squeeze! Aha!
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back. The other catches you before you lose your footing.
There. You heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, boy. Good news.
How dare you classify this slop as food?
It's the wheel. The wheel. Don't you see, you beautiful idiot? Squeaks whenever the helmsman jerks it clockwise, which means we're heading... Pardon my beard. That means if we've been travelling for... Yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy.
And I don't intend to do away with the custom.
Captain, actually. And that figure tells me we're getting close to the Joy. Close to what lies beyond it, too.
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily.
That'll be all. Thank you kindly, boy. If you'll be pardoning me, I'll be much obliged.
You one of them? A divine order loyal? They kill the sorcerer, you know. They'll hide the evidence well enough, but make no mistake.
I've nothing to hide.
Seems to me you should be a little more afraid. There's a killer about, after all.
Till overboiling a bit of cabbage becomes a crime, I shall hold my head steady.
An elf sits tucked away in a dark spot, lazily rolling dice onto the surface of a barrel. They sound like the dry cackling of an old witch.
Snake eyes.
She chuckles.
I bet that's just what they'll look like.
She shakes her head.
Game for one, I'm afraid. Rolling dice, deciding fates. Don't worry, honey. It isn't yours.
She looks you up and down with the merest hint of a coy smile on her lips.
Never say never, though.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
She eyes you quite seriously.
Not the future, no. But I can read the past in flesh. One of the perks of being an elf, you see. I'm quite good at it, too. I could lick your arm and tell you how you spent the night before last. Shall I?
She gives your arm a vigorous stroke of the tongue, efficient like a cat grooming.
You were in a cellar with other sorcerers. As everyone lay sleeping, it seems you and another elf engaged in an action somewhat similar to the one I just performed, only rather more vigorously. Of course it is. The truth's right there, skin deep. But don't you worry, darling. Your secret's safe with me. I don't lick and tell.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
The Magister starts, recognition growing on his face as he looks at you.
You look...
The Magister's face turns white. He makes a move to step backwards, then stops himself as his hand closes on the weapon at his hip.
It is you. Ifan Ben Mesd. I remember you. You were my captain's commander, way back in the...
The Magister's eyes darken. His face closes over into a cold...
I always knew you'd end up down low. Lower even than us nobodies in the rank and file. In Fort Joy, you're about to fall further than you thought possible. And I'll be listening for the splat. Happy landings.
I don't intend to do away with the custom.
Well, has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magisters more concerned than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
Here to register, sir. Good, good. Magister Williams is just about done with the last passenger. You faring okay so far?
He tugs the collar of his uniform and chuckles.
Sorry you're upset, sir. But we all wear what we wear for a reason. You head on in now. Williams will get you sorted fast.
Keep those bolts trained on her, and if she tries to run, shoot to kill.
You seem on edge, officer. What on earth is the matter?
Surely. Murder most foul. What do you do? I strongly suspect you know all about it.
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Well, perhaps you're absolutely right.
You, Jill, is that right? I've a few questions for you. You are Jill, aren't you?
I ain't saying nothing.
Bloody dwarves. I'll come back to you, and you better be ready to talk here.
Standing at the centre of the room, you spot a sorcerer haughtily eyeing a pair of nervous-looking magisters. They keep their crossbow trained upon her as she's being interrogated by an officer.
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella?
Yes, I did. But of course, that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you straight in the eye.
There are others whose lives must end.
Good God! The woman's mad! You there, sorcerer! Go and fetch Magister Siwan! We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet.
It means your journey draws to a close. Do stick around for its finale, though, because
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to create a scene.
Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts source, the Voidwoken will come. They'll end us all.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
What's happened?
The young woman lies in a heap on the floor. She's breathing normally, but her eyes are wide open, like those of a corpse. Dark, greyish-black clouds swirl through them.
No.
The Magister lies on the floor, unconscious and bleeding from a dire-looking wound. The Magister...
No, not the final dark. Not yet.
It's no use. Your words do not seem to reach her.
The dice roll darkly. They're rolling for me.
The dwarf lies in a heap on the floor, his great beard twisted and tangled around him. The dwarf lies in a heap. You hear a faint thud, thud, thud. He's alive, but only just.
What happened? You dare strike a royal? Ooh.
The lizard's eyes close as he slips into unconsciousness.
Gods damn it. Need to get off this wreck. Quick. Damn. That doesn't bode well. Onwards and upwards.
Thank the gods! I can find Grace. What was...
He eyes the collar circling your neck and reaches a hand towards his blade.
Another sorcerer!
The Magister's companion doesn't blink, frozen in place at the sight of you.
Like you don't know? Mutiny! Did that witch fix your collar too?
He whispers loudly to the other Magister.
Don't just cower there, Rix. Take out your blade.
Rix grabs his sword, which shakes in the rhythm of his trembling hand.
Then the mutiny ends here.
And you thought Rivellon was flat?
Ah, Alexander. Just in case we forget who holds us captive. Snaps into splinters.
Great God! Something's pounding on the hull!
You pass through the door and are suddenly face to face with an undead. His skull is bizarrely angular, and a glorious jewel sits in the middle of his forehead. The skeleton is quickly leafing through a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia, muttering to himself.
No, no, no! What damn fools record knowledge on a pulped tree? It catches fire. It turns into must when wet. It cannot even resist acid. No wonder they're so bloody ignorant.
The skeleton looks up and notices you for the first time.
Oh, it's you. Shouldn't you be running and screaming or some such?
The skeleton groans and looks back to his book, frantically flipping from page to page.
Yes, indeed. It's the look of someone that wants to read the bloody book he's holding. Now, if you're really quite finished, I believe you have lifeboats to flee to. Please, I was no more an elf than you are those rags you're wearing. I had a mask, rather ingeniously designed, which allowed me to take that primitive form. A mask that was stolen by that damned witch after her. Still, she'll drown with the rest of these fools, and I will simply pluck my mask from her cold...
The skeleton holds up his book in one quick, frustrated movement.
I am trying to discover if there is anyone worth saving, and I will be damned if I let the lives of some mayflies get in my way. Go on, go, swim or drown or do whatever takes your fancy. I have a book to read.
marking on the door was painted recently, judging from its pungent scent. You press your palm against the door to open it. The wood feels neither cold nor warm, but simply grey. The colour drains from your hand, and you are left. It doesn't budge. The door groans open, but an ashen shadow clouds your mind.
Deathlock! I need to get out of here, now! A lifeboat! That means there's still a chance!
kid. Children and dwarfs first, just like the old stories say.
The dwarf yanks at one of the nearby ropes.
Said there were other people down there. We need to help them.
You see those tentacles, kid? It's time for getting the hell out of here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you! There's a ladder right over there. You can go straight down.
You're gonna be the death of us, you hear? Had to open your big mouth.
If you can walk, get yourself up the ladder. There's a... Wait! Voidwoken!
These beardless bugs won't sink the ship on my watch.
I'm ready.
They who are about to triumph salute you.
I thought Voidwoken was supposed to be scary.
Let the games begin. Hurts, doesn't it?
Prepare yourself.
No telling whether there might be more. We need to move.
Away! The sea's hungry. We don't have much time. We make a pretty good team.
Let's not tarry. This old tub is about to burst.
I have plans for you, child. Rise.
Honorable Dallas, we lost a ship sailing sorcerer prisoners to Fort Joy. We assume some escaped and broke their collars. Their vile magic lured the Voidwoken. All who were aboard are presumed dead. Yours faithfully into eternity, High Judge Oriven.
So the Order's right about one thing. We attract Voidwoken. Am I the lone survivor? Only one way to find out. Any man who put his likeness in stone is a fool in my book. Rubbish. This won't be of any use. Imagine having the gall to want 100 generations gazing at your own face.
The child has a small mirror in his hands. He holds it up at angles, inspecting his eyes, his chin, the crown of his head. He spots you, and his arms snap to his sides.
I'm not supposed to talk to strangers. Why? But are you a sorcerer? One of those guys that brings the bad void things here?
The child screws up his face and looks at you hard. He lifts his mirror up to his nose, closes one eye, and looks at himself again.
I don't see any source on you or me. I guess they're wrong or crazy. No one cares where I go. They know I can't leave the island. It's nicer out here than inside anyway. They're gone now. The Magisters took them already. I guess now they're cured. And maybe they're waiting for me back at home. But you didn't die. I guess I am, but it's just normal to be scared. Nowhere isn't scary. There isn't anywhere safer. That's what I mean. You'll see. You can stay out here with me if you want. You don't seem that scary.
Imagine having the gall to want 100 generations gazing at your own face. woken. Those are the same beasts that sank our ship. Damn. They made it to shore. I thought these bloody collars were supposed to keep those things at bay. The face is familiar. What's left of it? He was aboard the ship.
You spot a strange lizard gazing over the water with a steady, malcontent stare. His skin is of a bright, blood-red colour. Could he be... Yes, you recognize him from the ship. It would seem you're not the only one who survived the tentacles of the deep. The lizard turns about with the graceful ease of a dancer, or a duelist. You lock eyes with his, two smouldering embers that sizzle your very soul.
Yes, I imagine you do. You're made of sterner stuff than I first gave you credit for. Chances are I wouldn't have survived the shipwreck had you not returned to the aid of your fellow passengers down in that dreadful hold. You have my gratitude.
Hand over heart, he salutes you with a bob of the head. More than a nod, though less than a bow.
Yes, I'm sure you've all the makings of a hero and all that, but let's not get carried away, shall we? Now then, if there's nothing further. I'm sure I don't mean to sound condescending, but I had thought it quite self-evident I was gazing out over the waves.
He sighs, dramatic.
Tell me, what do you see when you cast your glance over this ocean? White, which goes for the dry parts round here too, I imagine.
He looks out over the water once more, and so do you. A few tranquil moments pass as the waves lap against your thoughts.
As for myself, when I consider this vast expanse before us, I see an empire. I see continents dotted with mighty cities. And shimmering along the soft curve of the sea's horizon, I picture the palaces that formed my paradise. Lost. What do you mean, what do I mean? I mean just what I say. I had a very actual empire that I lost.
Suddenly, having all the air of being deeply offended, he stares at you with utter incredulity.
Well, don't just stand there gawking like an ape at an abacus. Or do you really mean to tell me you don't know who I am? Well, more's the damn pity, isn't it? For I am the Red Prince, the All-Conqueror, the World Tamer. the spouse of the sun. Of course you know me.
There's a brief moment's pause, during which his grandiloquent pose deflates ever so slightly.
That said, I suppose I must own up to the fact that I find myself rather in between all-conquering and world-taming opportunities at the moment. The grandeur that is my fate has hit a bit of a snag. But never you worry. For the throne I was destined, and my throne I shall have. Truly. A kind offer indeed. And you've already proven to be trustworthy enough. You came back for the others on that ship after... Fine. I accept. On one condition. For reasons I'll not disclose right now, it is imperative that I should meet with a dreamer. One of the mystics of my kind. I've reason to believe one of them may be present on this island. Promise me we'll look... You do tend to beat around the bush, don't you? So, now that that's settled, first things first. Even if you are as versed in the art of eloquence as I am, that our swords will be doing a lot of the talking from here on out goes without saying. As a born fighter, I prefer the perfection of the blade myself. But I'm well acquainted with the secrets of magic. Very well. Onwards then...
The Red Prince nods and gives you a smile that wavers ever so delicately between courtesy and contempt.
Now, as you're aware, you'll be travelling with a prince. Proper forms of address include Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, or if you're feeling particularly frivolous, Milord. As your luck would have it, I seem to be fresh out of luggage, so you won't be required to carry my belongings. Of course, there are other forms of protocol to bear in mind, but I'll see to it you'll pick up the rest as we go. So, without further ado, let us be off.
A black cat. Maybe my luck is about to change.
The cat's eyes are clouded and grey, but it stares at you with acute intensity. Its eyes clear, and it shakes its head,
I wonder where this leads.
As the alcove opens up, you see the same skeleton that you met on the boat before it sank. He's still not wearing his mask. He's leaning over a corpse, prodding and pulling at the skin of its face. Bugger.
How on earth am I supposed to... Oh. Perhaps...
Skeletal fingers reach down and grip the skin of the dead man's face, pulling...